It almost seems like no matter how buttoned up you make something when planning an event, there's going to be something that goes wrong or something that pops up that you just weren't expecting. And really, creative thinking when these challenges arise allows planners to basically devise innovative solutions. Now, this might involve reimagining event elements, coming up with alternative approaches, or turning a potential setback into an opportunity.
This is Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, your essential resource for mastering the unique challenges of social media marketing in the hospitality industry authentically. I'm your host, Mike Allton, and each episode we dive deep into the real issues, from evolving guest expectations to standout social campaigns, sharing insights and strategies you can put to work. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, where we're digging into the challenges, successes, and the stories of social media community professionals in the industry, just like you. Subscribe to gain valuable insights that you'll be able to apply to your own work and social presence from each and every episode. Now, imagine being a marketer asked to plan an event with little to no experience. It's a common scenario in the hospitality industry where brand marketers and social media pros often find themselves navigating unfamiliar terrain. The pressure is high, the stakes are even higher, and the challenges can seem insurmountable. How do you ensure everything runs smoothly? How do you engage attendees and create a memorable experience without prior expertise? Our guests today are here to provide the answers. Couris and Adin Jacobs, the dynamic duo behind Revent, have revolutionized event planning with their innovative app. As co-founders of Revent, Ben and Adin have faced and conquered numerous challenges in the event planning space, and they're here to share their insights. Today, we're going to dive deep into the common hurdles marketers face when tasked with event planning and explore practical strategies to overcome them. Ben and Adin will also shed some light on how tools like Revent can simplify the planning process, making it easier for marketers to create successful events even with limited experience. Hey, Ben and Adin, welcome to the show.
How's it
Awesome. Thanks
going?
for having us.
Thanks so much for coming on the show. This is so exciting. I'd love if you could start by just sharing some of the most common challenges that marketers face when planning events for the first time from your experience.
Yeah, I mean, really, we see some of the biggest challenges in budget management, primarily being planning an event has so many moving parts to it, as well as so many incidental things that come up. It can get a little crazy to track your budget. And then, same with task management, when you're dealing with a team and you've been dealing with something like an event that has so many moving parts, things can get forgotten and go unturned and kind of just slip under the radar is primarily what we see with most of the organizers we work with.
Another challenge that really a lot of organizers face is logistical coordination. So being able to coordinate your details like transportation, accommodations, and equipment can sometimes be overwhelming, especially for larger events.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't have in-person event experience, but I've been running online events since 2018, and I had to figure it all out on my own and just juggle lots of spreadsheets and Google Docs and make a whole mess of things. So that's really complicated. I'd love if you could explore a little bit about your app and talk to us about how it specifically addresses and helps overcome some of these challenges.
Yeah, well, even playing into the point Aiden mentioned about logistic coordination, really our tool foundationally provides comprehensive budget management features along with task and logistic features. So through our platform, you can create your budgets, track all your transactions, but then you can also create different logistical and task boards, which you can then assign items to team members, have things come in through approval, share and save all of your kind of media documents, agreements, things like that into one system that kind of houses all of that.
Yeah, where else we see a solution within Revent is in regards to technology integration. So, being able to choose user-friendly platforms and test them thoroughly before the event, it provides training or support for attendees who may need help with that technology.
Yeah, that again sounds such like it sounds like such an amazing thing because again, these are the areas that I've really struggled with personally, and I know folks listening, if they've ever been asked to run an online event or an in-person event on behalf of their brand, You're really hitting a lot of those notes. What are some key strategies, maybe that some marketers where they have little to no event planning experience can employ that's going to help them ensure that their events run really, really smoothly?
Yeah. From experience, before we got into this venture, Aiden and I have thrown a decent amount of small events or have been a part of some of that. And really, where we see the most success is having a clear plan. I know that sounds a little obvious, but really, when you're kind of throwing something together, it can get almost undermined in a way. Setting goals, who's your target audience, your budget, timeline, other key milestones, and really outlining that before you get into the thick of the planning process truly makes all of the difference.
Yeah, I would say the most important thing for myself is building a reliable team, ensuring that you assemble a team with clear roles and responsibilities, even if you had limited experience, and then delegating tasks to capable team members or partners, really overall ensuring that all aspects of the events are covered.
Can you share some examples maybe of some clients and users, how they've used your app to successfully kind of really transform their event planning process?
Yeah. From a top level, organization really is the key point. What we have found is, people are used to the softwares they're using today, they're comfortable with them, they trust them, but they're not connected with each other, nor are the crucial aspects like managing your team and tracking your budget integrated in within that. So what we've been able to provide to organizers that use us is a North Pole per se to your organization, to your event planning, keeping everything in one place, in one system that feeds off of each of these moving aspects and allows you as the organizer to come into one portal and see, okay, this needs to get done for this event. This is what has to, be planned. And here are all the different moving parts. What do I do and how do I execute on them?
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, I would say efficiency and providing a centralized solution for all of the different touch points within an event organizer's needs, allowing them to flow seamlessly and smoothly through the event creation process.
Got it. Got it. So one question I've got for you guys: how important do you think creativity and adaptability when faced with these kinds of unexpected challenges might be during the planning process of an event?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I mean, it almost seems like no matter how buttoned up you make something when planning an event, there's going to be something that goes wrong or something that pops up that you just weren't expecting. And really, creative thinking when these challenges arise allows planners to basically devise innovative solutions. Now, this might involve reimagining event elements, coming up with alternative approaches, or turning a potential setback into an opportunity. So, for an example of this that we've seen is a keynote speaker cancels at the last minute. A creative solution for this could involve organizing a panel discussion with available experts, incorporating interactive sessions, or even using vital technology to bring in a replacement.
Yeah, I think through all of this, it's important to continue to maintain a positive experience and have a flexible approach, which really ensures that, through all of your challenges, they're managed in ways that keep the event integrity intact and attendees satisfied.
And the other element that I've found time and time again, and I've preached this to my team at Agorapulse, is that the more you're able to plan ahead and streamline the event, the more time you're going to save in executing the event, which will allow you to handle these things that come up all the time. I mean, Ben, you couldn't see me. I was cringing when you said a keynote speaker that cancels at the last minute, because that's happened to me. That's going to happen to you folks listening. If you plan more than one event, speakers will cancel. Things will happen. Technology won't work. All these things can come up. Maybe you're heading into the last week of your event promotion phase and you aren't seeing the numbers that you need to see to really do well with that event. And it's in those times where you need that time available to creatively think about that issue, whatever it is, and come up with a solution. And if you're using tools like Revent and you've saved so much time up front in the planning, you're not bouncing back and forth between a bunch of different spreadsheets and trying to find documents and just wasting all that time that can happen when you're putting together an event. That's going to make everything else that can and will happen so much easier to manage. Folks, we're talking with Ben Couris and Adin Jacobs about the challenges event planners face and the opportunities new technologies are offering to help them. Another area event and retail marketers can struggle with is reporting, actually seeing data and metrics on what marketing efforts are working and which ones aren't. And that's where Agorapulse can really help you.
Actually can't say enough great things about the reporting with Agorapulse. I feel like that is my job security every month. My clients aren't that active on social media, which is why they have me manage their profiles for them. And when they get that report, it verifies that they're making a good investment.
The metrics downloads are so simple and easy to read, and it really helps me show where we are doing things right on social and where we need to improve.
So I think one of the main reasons why we decided to move to Agorapulse is because it's a more comprehensive, integrated tool for all of our marketing needs. So rather than what we have had to do historically with Sprout, which is use certain parts of that platform that work really well and then supplement it with other outside tools, by moving to Agorapulse, we were able to keep all of that into one technology platform, which is not only a time saver, but it also makes sure that our analytics and all of our reporting's on point because we're pulling all from the same source.
It's a really great platform for agencies. It makes it really easy to manage, but gives me really, really, really robust information that actually helps me develop better strategies for my clients and better plans of action.
So we've talked about the planning process and trying to get our ducks in a row, so to speak, with documentation and resources and that sort of thing. What about when the event is actually taking place and now we're trying to keep folks engaged, keep that attendee engagement rate as high as we possibly can? There's so many reasons why we want to do that. We don't need to go into that, but I'm wondering what features your app has that marketers would find the most valuable when it comes to attendee engagement.
Yes. So one of the biggest features we'll be pushing out in the next few months is exactly what you just mentioned, understanding what keeps the attendees engaged. And so what our software will be able to analyze over time is different aspects of your events and what this translates to in engagement. And that's not only from signups and people attending, but it will also analyze and work with the softwares you use to capture post-event feedback and what people liked. Then what our system does is it analyzes or helps you analyze this software and then gives you back basically metrics on, if you add this to your event, we see a, 10% higher satisfaction rate, or if you offered this type of promotional deal or these sponsor activations had this effect. Our system basically helps you sift through inputs, sift through a lot of contextual data and figure out what metrics or what factors are affecting the outcomes of your events, both in a positive and a negative way.
Yeah. As Ben mentioned, in regards to attendees and this ROI, you're able to really see what's working and what's leading to that return on investment to ensure that every event you're throwing continues to that level of success that you're looking for.
I love the point about the post-event survey, basically, of attendees, because that's huge. I mean, we were just talking in that mid-roll video about the reporting that Agorapulse does so that we can actually look at what social posts we've done during any given amount of period and see how they performed and learn from that. The same is true with events. And I call that out because most event software doesn't have that capability. So it's something marketers and event organizers have to think to do outside of their normal event platform, right? They have to decide, oh, okay, even though I'm exhausted and the event's over, I'm still going to send yet another email to my attendees and ask them, or try to set up a poll within the platform. And I'll be transparent. Most of the time we just don't do that because it's not easy. And that's really critical knowledge for informing us for the next time. Now, I know one of the other things that I often have to struggle with is figuring out how I'm going to allocate my budget. Now, with online events, we're typically talking about speakers, paid ads, the event platforms and tools and other kinds of things. I know when we go to an in-person event, the number of expenditures and the size of the budget increases exponentially. How does your app help with those kinds of concerns?
Yeah. So really what our app does in regards to things around the budget, well, to start is you'll begin logging your budget through the software, basically how you would with like an Excel sheet. The interesting thing that'll happen as you continue to use the platform is these budgets will become forecasted for you, optimized, suggested. Our system can even start bundling things based on specific event types that you're throwing. So the cool thing about Revent is it's truly a platform meant to grow with the organizer. So the value an organizer gets out of it from day one is astronomically higher after a year of using the platform, 2 years of using the platform. Really, our system builds with that specific organizer. And instead of trying to generalize events or the categories of events or the type of organizer, our software focuses on that specific organizer and their team and optimizes the software for them and their needs, all in their own vertical.
Yeah, and some event organizers are planning their events months, even years out in advance. So being able to start your budgeting with that much time ahead based off of your expected cost, and as those actual costs start to come into play, adjust that budget based off of that, I think is vital and leads to secure budgeting.
I had to laugh a little bit. If you're listening and you've been given a whole year to plan your event, congratulations. You are among the minority, and I'm jealous of you. I typically have a quarter or less. But can you discuss the role that data analytics has in event planning and how Revent leverages data to help improve our event outcomes time after time?
Yeah, so great question. Revent is data focused. It's a data driven approach to your events. I mean, Aiden and myself really find a lot of joy and fun out of kind of like getting into the weeds of data and different data points. And what we're doing as a team right now, and while we build this product and continue to build it, is trying to answer like the harder questions, the contextual data, the things that aren't necessarily numeric based or a scale of 1 to 5, but overall sentiment and factors. And so data is astronomically important, but if you just sit on a pool of data, it doesn't mean that that data is meaningful. And so what our platform is aiming to do and doing is take these data pools organizers sit on and contextualize that into information, which then turns into knowledge and then finally into action.
Yeah, taking the data analytics and presenting it in a digestible format is important for these organizers, and being able to transparently showcase that to team members, boards, executives allows these organizers to utilize this data analytics to propel their events to that next level.
Got it. Got it. That sounds fantastic. So, suppose you're talking to someone like myself who's been doing events for a while, but we've been doing it with, paper, or we've been doing with, in my case, like Google Sheets and Google Drive folders, and everything's, kind of quote unquote old school. What advice would you have for someone like me who's maybe hesitant about trying to migrate to or adapt new technologies for these events that, hey, I've been planning these for years, every single quarter. What do I need to change for?
Yeah, I mean, listen, your hesitancy isn't wrong when it comes to data and the information and your processes to fulfill an event. There's obviously, and rightfully so, reluctant to change. Anything new can be a little daunting. What we see and the advice we give is, for one, start small and experiment, right? Maybe don't move your entire system to something brand new, but try it out for one event, see how it is. And then also understand that you're going to need to invest time into learning, right? All of these technologies, even if it was, moving from Excel sheets to notebooks, even, it comes with a learning curve and hurdles in not only the understanding of what you're doing, but also getting your team on board and up to pace with what you're doing. And so really, from what I advise organizers is start small, experiment, and then make sure you understand that you're not going to get it all on day one, and be ready to invest a little time into learning this.
Yeah, I would say focusing on the benefits. I mean, it could be a little intimidating transitioning to a new solution, but really having time to consider the special benefits that a event tech can provide and how it can really address the challenges that you're facing on a day-to-day basis is very important.
I couldn't agree more. I have very similar conversations with marketers every day, whether we're talking about event tech, whether we're talking about social media tech, whether we're talking about artificial intelligence in general, right? There's always that learning curve up front, but if you understand the benefits and the goal, the long-term goal that you're headed towards, you can make sure that you get that ROI and you're actually seeing those features and benefits play out for yourself in your organization. Guys, I just got one more question. I know this is a question I typically ask social media professionals, but I still wanted to toss it out at you and see what your take was, because I'm wondering how you currently measure the business impact of social media. Obviously, that's a topic that we're talking about all the time on this show, and how you measure that in regards to your projects, if there are any particular metrics or KPIs that you prioritize. How do you make that connection between, what a lot of people just consider, hey, we're just on social having fun, to actual business results?
Yeah, I mean, primarily LinkedIn is like our primary social media that we use, and we can see a lot of like direct return through there. We not only get analytics about our company page and the posts that are there, but a lot of the engagement that happens through the platform, and being that the platform's already focused on business, we're able to schedule a lot of demos, intro calls, connectors, all of that through LinkedIn and our outreach. So that's the primary vertical we look at. And then we use, like, as our secondary, I would say it's Instagram. And really there we try to just track and see how much our posts are getting sent out, if there's any messages coming through. And then we can do a correlation between a post on either LinkedIn or Instagram and compare that to traffic on our site and kind of see the upticks. Helps us understand basically which content is being perceived the best.
Yeah, and to dive a little deeper in regards to KPIs that we prioritize, one of the biggest things is our reach and our reaches and impressions. So, measuring the potential audience size and how often our content's viewed. And I'd say right now, the number one KPI that we measure is our engagement rate. So seeing the likes, comments, when we post surveys, the interactions we get there really lets us know how well our social media campaigns are performing.
Makes a lot of sense. Guys, this has been a really treat and really fascinating look at a tool that, quite frankly, I can't wait to use for my own events. I'm sure many of the listeners are going to appreciate having a closer look. For those who want to learn more, where should they go?
Yeah, go to reventapp.com. That is our main site. And then also find us on LinkedIn.
Terrific. Thanks so much, Ben, Adin. Thank all of you for listening. We'll have all the links to everything in the show notes. And that's all the time we've got for today, friends. But don't forget to find the Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition on Apple and leave us a review. We'd love to know what you think. Until next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, hosted by Mike Allton and powered by AgoraPulse, the #1 rated social media management solution. Discover more at agorapulse.com. Enjoyed the episode? Please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Your feedback drives our content.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.